Hey guys, happy 2025. Thanks for tuning in. It is Obsessed Turf, and I am super excited for 2025. Got a big plan as far as what I'm doing in my lawn care. But before we get into the lawn, I just want to recap everything that I went through in the fall as I was preparing for the 2025 season. So the things that I'm going to share with you today are things that I actually did late fall, early winter, but the actual opportune time to do the stuff that I did in the fall is now. Late winter, early spring is the best time to do a lot of your tree trimming and bush trimming. Reason being is if you do it at the wrong time at the end of the fall season, and you get some warm days, and if there's some new growth that takes place after you've trimmed, that new growth could actually be impacted by the cold temperatures, right? So I've always trimmed in the fall. I do wait until things have pretty much started to go dormant before I do my trimming, just so that I don't, I try to avoid damaging new growth as much as possible. But that being said, the winter was a little more harsh than what we're used to, right? I did a little more shoveling than we normally did the past few winters, but the snow started for us kind of the day after Thanksgiving is when we actually started to see some of the snow taking place here. And I'm in Ohio, so the thaw, we had at the end of January, and of course you start getting pretty excited about what's to come. And this is the lawn at the end of fall, just before I was going to close it down for the year. Okay, so you see where this new green grass is. Not to worry, it's lighter because it's newer grass. That will eventually change over as the grass matures, and it'll blend in with the rest of the grass. Pretty successful overseed, and I targeted some areas for reseed you could see in previous videos in my fall renovation, but this is the result of that work. So pretty excited about the progress that I made in my fall overseed. Nice growth coming in there with that grass. But this is the maple tree, and you can see all the leaves are off of the tree now, but blowing these leaves under the tree, as the leaves were falling, I would just go out there and occasionally blow those. I just keep these leaves blown under the tree until I'm ready for the next step, which we'll cover here soon. But of course, my fall cleanup and treatments were always delayed with some sort of rain. Like we went entire summer without rain, and then of course the fall hits, and I can't stay on schedule to save my life. So let's get going here with the next day, where we actually get going on pruning and trimming. So this is a white pine that I have, and just trimming back some of the branches this is eye level for me, and it's kind of an obstruction when I'm mowing, so I'm going to cut this back to the tree here. So we'll trim these bushes. We got these Japanese maples that never shed their leaves, but see how they're growing? You don't want the trees to touch the side of the house, guys, and so it's just a conduit for insects and things to be introduced to your house. That's a little nimble patch that I did a renovation on in the fall. And then you see how the leaves from the Japanese maple are kind of touching the house. You want your trees and bushes to be trimmed a foot or more away from the house, just to reduce the amount of insects that come in, and then you got some overgrowth that we'll trim back there. And then we've got the maple tree, and there's a branch that's kind of sticking out in front of the pine tree, and we're going to trim that back just to kind of so the trees can play well together. So the nice thing about this pole saw is that I can take off this saw and use it as a hand saw. So let's get to trimming. guys. So I always want a challenge, right? So I timed myself on how long it would take me to cut these branches off and trim them down and get them ready to be bedded. Let's see how long it took. 20 minutes. So with this is a maple tree in the back, we're going to cut this branch off right back here. So let's get this trimmed off. All right, so on to the bushes now. Trimming the bushes are, it's a little challenging because you get, the trimmings all down in the yard, and then they get down to the flower bed. So a way to avoid this or make it easier for cleanup is just to lay yourself a tarp below the bushes, and these are thorny bushes too, so it's really helpful to do this. Now, one of the things you're going to notice too is that when we get it trimmed up, there's going to be some branches that are kind of bent in there, and then some of the trimmed branches. So this actually helps remove the loose and cut branches, as well as pull up any of the bent over branches, so that we can then trim those off and make it all nice and flush and neat. So once we get all the trimming done, look how easy this is, guys, just to sweep that right up off of the tarp. It's so much easier than raking it out of the grass and trying to pick it out of the flower bed. And we do that with this bush as well. This poor bush is lacking sunlight because of the Japanese maple that's above it, but it's still hanging in there. So we just trim that up and clean this up, and we are done. So after that, we need to get into this Japanese maple. So let's get trimming. all trimmed up and nice and neat for the winter. Of course, just as I get done with the trimming, it starts to rain. So much for mowing today. So I ended up having to just bag up the trimmed leaves and wait until the following day to do my mowing. So we get to the irrigation and we have to winterize. So we're winterizing the irrigation. This is actually the next day because my plan was to mow and trim and all that and then just winterize. But I had this scheduled and of course Mother Nature wasn't working with me. So we got the irrigation winterized before I could mow, but no big deal. I mean, we're not watering anymore at this point of the year anyway. And that lawn looks good, doesn't it? It looks great. I'm pretty happy about it. And I will be going over my 2025 schedule with you guys as well. But so following that, this was probably, I don't know, a few days after we went ahead and was able to get back outside and prep for the mow. Now the mow is when I actually mulch the leaves into my lawn. So right now I'm just blowing the perimeter of the flower beds to get that stuff away from the edge so that I can then, from the leaves from this maple tree, blow these leaves out into my backyard. So I do that and then I put half of the leaves on a tarp and I get those so that I can move those up to the front lawn, and then there's the second half that I'll blow here on the back lawn. So we just drag this pile of leaves to the front lawn, and it used to be that there actually wasn't enough leaves to compensate or to mulch in front and back. But as this tree has grown over the years, it's turned out that I'm actually starting to get a little too many leaves. So I don't know if I'll be able to do this, do the whole tree, because it turned out that this amount of leaves here on the front yard was a little too much, but I'll show you what I did to fix that. So it also was that these leaves were a little damp because of the rain that we had been getting. Before I could get them out on the lawn and get them mowed, they had gotten rained on a time or two. So, you know, leaves, they'll start to break down with that and they start to clump up. So it was a little bit more challenging this year for me to do it this way, but we got it done. Thank goodness for this Ego blower. It is a very powerful blower. I'm very pleased with it, and I'll be doing a review on this Ego 765 blower as well, because it was a good investment. So getting into blowing all these leaves across the backyard, just trying to get as much of an even distribution of leaves as I can, and so that you can see kind of how this is spread out. And then this is the front yard. Like I said, they're a little heavier than I intended to put down, but it's okay. We just start to mow, so let's get into that. So one thing I'll say about the Ego mower is that it doesn't really mulch as great as my old gas mower did. So I'm not real crazy about that. It means that, you know, I have to probably go over these a little bit more than I probably would have with my other mower. But as you can see, with these excess leaves, I just blew them over into this part of the lawn because this did not get any leaves. And it turns out that these were mulched well enough that they fell right into the lawn and did not need to get mulched in anymore. So about a week later, this is when the snow started to fall. This was after Thanksgiving, and this was about 1 week after I mulched the leaves into the lawn, and the lawn has responded very well to the fall renovation that I had done to it, and then the leaves have pretty much all started to decompose. You can see down into the lawn. Don't really see any signs of leaves in the lawn at this point. That was a nimblewell area that I had nuked and reseeded, and then it's blending in very well with the lawn. And then this is along the pavers that I had done for resetting my pavers, and then I had to kind of reseed that area along the edge of the paver. But this is 2 weeks later, and look at that. I mean, man, so happy. You can see my urea burn right there. Working on a reseed for that. I'll let you know how that goes. But all in all, I'm very pleased with how the 2024 season closed up, and I am super excited for 2025 because I've got a serious program that I put together. I'm working on finishing up getting the products that I'll need for the entire 2025 season, and I have done a ton of research that only the obsessed would probably do. But stay tuned, I'm also going to do a video for you guys that aren't necessarily obsessed, and you just want something basic, because, you know, the amount of times that I've been taking care of my lawn over the years, I've gone through the entire spectrum of lawn care, and so I definitely know what I would do if I were just wanting to keep it to the basics, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to put together a video for you guys of just the basics. Just so that, you know, if you don't want to spend a bunch of time and money out in your lawn, you don't have to have a nice looking lawn. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Remember, get those bushes and trees trimmed back now, but before it starts to warm up and before the new growth starts. You don't want to shock your trees and bushes. Go ahead and get that done now so that you can get into, especially like my crabapple tree, so that you don't affect anything that might be flowering and things like that. So hope you guys found it helpful. I cannot wait to share my lawn care journey with you in 2025. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.